Grüßt euch und Servus miteinander. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, friends of Japanese art prints. Let me first introduce. My name is Dieter Vanschura. I'm the owner and manager of the Artelino company. What's the Artelino company? Well, we sell Japanese art prints in weekly online auctions, and we produce these videos centered around Japanese prints on a regular or irregular basis. And the title of today's video is 108 Heroes of the Suikoden. Suikoden, what is that? 108 Heroes of the Suikoden. Who are they? When I want to know something, of course, like everybody else, I go to Google or Bing or Wikipedia. When you search for 108 Heroes of the Suikoden, on Google, you get the following result. You get video plays, all Japanese video games. Suikoden is a role-playing video game series originally created by Yoshitaka Murayama. The game series is loosely based on the classical Chinese novel and so on. Well, just about video games. Of course, today I don't want to talk about video games, but this shows it must be something that is even today in Japan still very popular. Well, don't be desperate. I'm not going to tell you what the 108 heroes of the Suikoden are and what they have to do with Japanese prints, because this video here is basically always about Japanese art prints. Well, the 108 Heroes of the Suikoden, that is an old Chinese novel from the 14th century. The original title was Shuihu Tsuhan, and it was translated into Japanese as Suikoden. Shuihu Tsuhan. Excuse my Chinese, it's not very good. Well, and this story is about 108 honorable bandits. It's a kind of a Robin Hood story. Well, these guys, they fought against corrupt local authorities, and they fought against them and fought for the poor common people. And these honorable bandits, they lived in the marshes near the Liangshan mountain. Well, it all played in China, although we're talking about a subject related to Japan, Japanese woodblock prints. And this novel from the 14th century is said to have a background of real events from 1120. Later, in the, I think, 19th century or 20th century, it was also published in the West under the title of The Water Margin. This novel is organized in chapters and structured in the way of today's soap operas. That means you have one chapter, and the chapter ends with a captivating end where you don't know, okay, how will it continue? The reason was the following. They wanted to encourage people to buy the next issue of this story. It was published in small chapters, just like today's soap operas. And like today's soap operas, it was also aimed at the common people. At the beginning of the 19th century, this novel became very popular in Japan, and as a consequence, it became also a subject on Japanese woodblock prints. And that's why I'm talking today about these 108 heroes of the Suikoden. In 1805, the Japanese writer Takizawa Baken took care of the story, made a new translation and transformation, and it was republished, and this publication was illustrated by no one else than the famous Japanese artist Hokusai Katsushika. Well, even if you're not familiar with Japanese prints, you know him. Hokusai Katsushika is the guy, the Great Wave of Kanagawa. Everybody knows that print. It's basically the flagship image for Japan today. Well, and this story, this new publication, it became a huge commercial success, mainly about the urban population of Edo. Edo is the old name for today's Tokyo, and at the beginning of the 19th century, Edo was a huge metropolis with estimated 1 million inhabitants. So it was quite a huge market, and it was mainly a craze among the common people. You must imagine, well, this story, this Japanese publication of the 108 heroes of the Suikoden, it triggered a craze like the Beatle mania in the 1960s. It was also a protest of the common people in Edo against the strict class system and the harsh order of the ruling shogunate at the beginning of the 19th century. Well, the shogunate system was very unpopular at that time, and the Suikoden were a symbol for guys who challenged the ruling power. In 1827, the publisher Kaguya Kishibe planned republication of the series, and Kuniyoshi Utagawa, the famous printmaker, woodblock artist, he received a commission for 5 designs for the first chapters. At that time, Kuniyoshi Utagawa was a poor lad. He knew hardly how to survive as an artist. Illustrations for books at that time were very, very important. Why? The common people could not read or could read badly, and therefore to support the story, to get the message across, books were published in a kind of, like coffee table books with heavy illustrations. Anyway, well, these publications, also due to the designs by Kuniyoshi, was a huge commercial breakthrough for Kuniyoshi Utagawa. And he was also commissioned the rest of the series. I think there was 67 prints or something like that. Well, this is one example from this series. And from now on, Kuniyoshi Utagawa had found his market niche. He commissioned, especially from now on depictions of warriors, warrior prints. And, well, the other guys, his comrades, even nicknamed him from then on the warrior Kuniyoshi. The republication of this novel with the illustrations by Kuniyoshi Utagawa, by the way, triggered and ignited the fashion of tattoos among lower class townspeople, especially in Edo. Well, Edo, the old name for Tokyo. Suddenly, tattoos became icky. Icky is the Japanese word for cool, for fashionable. But it was confined to the lower class people, construction workers, prostitutes, firefighters. It was tattoos became a kind of a protest against the ruling authorities. Well, the series of the 108 heroes of the Suikoden was readapted and republished over the decades because it was so successful, with new illustrations commissioned to many other ukiyo-e artists. And in 1866, 1867, there's a famous among collectors of woodblock prints series with the title of Bijou Suikoden. It was illustrated by the famous Meiji artist Yoshitoshi Taiso, or also called Yoshitoshi Tsukiyoka. And this series consists of 50 designs in Chuban size. Well, Chuban is distinctively smaller than this size. This size is called Oban. And Yoshitoshi, his illustrations are very different from the ones made by Kuniyoshi. They are very dark, very somber, and not showing the strong heroes, but full of ghosts, spirits, and monsters. We have one sheet from the series by Kuniyoshi for the illustration of the 108 heroes of the Suikoden in our current auction. It's the item number 81939. Let's take a closer look at it, and let's click here, okay, for the large image and the detailed description. Don't want to go too much into detail. You see, we always show the back side of the prints. Here you have the current bidding history. The auction is still going on. And here you get a lot of information. And please always pay attention to this section here, measures and conditions. This print is ranked as impressions very good, colors good, quality good. Prints from this series is very rare and very much coveted by collectors, but it's not always in perfect condition. Well, this is, let's show the image again. It's one sheet from a diptych of the illustration, and it's the publisher was Kaguya Kichibe, and it was published around 1827, 1830. On our website, you can also find an article about the 108 heroes of the Suikoden. Let's take a short look at that one. You find it in our article sections. There are more than 1,000 articles in English and roughly 250 articles in German. In order to find something, just go to Google and type in Suikoden artelino or something like that. Also for other, if you want to look for a Japanese woodblock artist, for instance, usually it's enough just to type in the name. We are normally found on the first page. Well, if not, then just add the word artelino. This article here, by the way, nicely illustrated. You see a bunch of these prints here, all published by Kuniyoshi. And, well, this is from the Yoshitoshi series. There are a few more down there. You see Yoshitoshi, all dark, somber. And when you click on one, you get directly to a more detailed descriptions. Well, enjoy it. And something else, there's also a great book of Brigands and Bravery, Kuniyoshi's Heroes of the Suikoden. Well, it shows the series, and here on page, where is it, 79, you find the design that we have in the current auction and good descriptions. Well, so much for today. Thank you for watching, and I would be pleased, of course, to find you in our current auction or in future auctions, and I would be pleased to see you for our next video. So much for today. Have a nice weekend.